Hi, welcome to our presentation. Today we will be talking about Red Bull versus Alani Nu and gender-based marketing. Here's just a little introduction of what we will be talking about today. Energy drinks brands often use lifestyle and identity cues in marketing that align with gender ideals. Historically, mainstream energy drinks such as Red Bull and Monster have emphasized extreme sports, risk taking, and quote unquote performative masculinity. More recently, newer brands such as Alani Nu, Alani Nutrition have targeted young, health and fitness oriented women using bright aesthetics, influencer partnerships, and product claims that appeal to body, beauty, and wellness goals. These divergent brand strategies make Red Bull and Alani Nu ideal cases for studying how marketing constructs and targeted gendered audiences. Now I'll be talking about the methodologies we used to create our information for this presentation. Um, in the past couple of weeks, we've been studying marketing between the Alani Nu and Red Bull teams on how they promote their product. We've noticed that Alani Nu has used a more of a newer way of marketing their brand, such as reaching out to influencers, mainly female influencers, either in the beauty space and lifestyle space or in the fitness world to promote their drinks and have sponsorships with them to get their female fan bases to buy their energy drinks. Whereas Red Bull has more of a traditional route and they have just used ads in between television shows, word of mouth. I think because Red Bull has been around for so many more years, they basically just rely on like word of mouth and being accessible in like almost every store from Costco to the dollar store. You can buy a Red Bull, whereas Alani Nu is a little bit more in only in certain grocery stores. So them using influencers to go out of their way to buy it instead of where Red Bull is just a little more traditional based. Secondly, we did a consumer survey. Um, we've interviewed and just sent out surveys to either our peers or just people we didn't know on their personal experiences with both companies. People have said that Red Bull does have a more quote unquote performative, like male, like feeling behind their company, and it does feel more male targeted. Where Alani Nu with their branding is very vibrant, very like pink, more feminine. So it does have a girly like feel to it. And lastly, we did a focus group just to talk about how people really feel about the brand associations, the feeling about the product, like it being low calorie or better for your metabolism. Um, we also got them to taste both products to see how they would make them feel. And we've noticed that the people we interviewed said that Alani Nu tasted more like a juice and a sweet treat, whereas Red Bull felt like an authentic energy drink, where there wasn't much of a taste to it, so it wasn't very enjoyable. The drink really feels as if it's strictly just for energy, and Alani Nu felt more of a like drinking a juice box or having a can of pop. And they also said they feel like Alani Nu is more based in nutrition and more health conscious, whereas Red Bull isn't and is can come off a more of a chemical based drink, whereas Alani Nu isn't.
Today, our research looks at how Red Bull and Alani use gendered marketing strategies to appeal to different audiences. Our primary question asks, how do visuals, messaging, influencers, and products claim different when targeting male versus female consumers? From this, we explore three secondary questions. First, which specific marketing elements like imagery, coloring, packaging, and influencers differ between the two brands? Second, how do consumers of different genders interpret these cues? And finally, how do aesthetics such as packaging influence purchase decisions? Overall, our objective is to compare how these strategies impact real consumer perceptions, identify any ethical or health implications, and offer recommendations for both marketers and policymakers. Next, we grounded our analysis in three key frameworks. First is Judith Butler's gender performativity. Butler argues that gender is something we perform through repeated actions. Favel's 2024 analysis highlights how Butler sees gender as a form of power that shapes how we perceive ourselves and others. Marketing taps into this by signaling what is considered masculine and what is considered feminine through design. Second is Roland Barthes' semiotics, extended through Louis' 2024 work. Semiotics looks at how signs, colors, images, typography carry symbolic meaning. These visual elements operate as signifiers that influence how audience interpret a product. And third, consumer culture theory, which explains how people use brands to express identity and belonging. Branding goes beyond the product, it carries cultural symbolism. Our interviews show this clearly. Students often choose the drink that felt more aligned with their vibe or gender identity. Our literature review shows the energy drink marketing is heavily influenced by gender. Dark, bold, blue visuals tend to code products as masculine, while soft, pastel colors are often associated with femininity. Traditional brands like Red Bull reinforce masculine ideals through extreme sports, intensity, and bold packaging. Newer wellness oriented brands like Alani Nu target women through pastel palettes, aesthetic design, and influencer driven marketing. Semiotic research shows how these design elements act as signifiers that shape our consumer interpretation. Across studies and in our interviews, packaging and color strongly influence the decisions. Many participants admitted that they chose the product more based on the color and packaging more than the taste or the familiarity.
Our research follows a realistic 10-week timeline that fits within a standard academic semester. So we combine three methods: content analysis, surveys, and focus groups to compare how Alani Nu and Red Bull use gendered marketing because most of our data comes from public social media and student participants. The project is low cost, easy to manage, and very feasible. Moving on to our planning, ethics, and recruitment. In the first 3 weeks, we finalize our research question and theoretical frameworks like gender performativity and semiotics. We then complete ethical planning to ensure informed consent and anonymous participation. By week 3, we recruit student participants and select around 20 Alani Nu and 20 Red Bull social media posts for analysis. Data collection and analysis. So during weeks 4 and 5, we collect all of our data by analyzing brand posts, distributing an online survey, and conducting focus group discussions. In weeks 6 and 7, we analyze both the quanti- quantitative and qualitative results. This includes coding themes like masculinity, femininity, wellness, and risk, and comparing how each brand performs gender through its marketing strategies. So, our final production and feasibility in the final stages, we write up our findings and create visuals like charts and packaging comparisons. The last 2 weeks focus on finalizing and presenting our work. Overall, this project is highly feasible because it costs nothing, uses publicity available content. It uses publicly available content, and involves easily recruited student participants and presents minimal ethical risks. This Gantt chart shows how our project is broken into clear, manageable phases across the semester. So we start with proposal development and theory in week 1, followed by ethics planning in week 2 to ensure all participation is informed and anonymous. Following, in week 3, we recruit student participants and select our Alani Nu and Red Bull social media samples. The data collection takes place in weeks 4 and 5 through content analysis, surveys, and focus groups. Weeks 6 and 7 are dedicated to analyzing both qualitative, and quantitative data. In the final weeks, we focus on writing, designing visuals, and preparing our final presentation. So overall, this timeline is realistic, low risk, and very feasible within a 10-week term. Join us as we roam around TMU campus asking students their thoughts and opinions on Red Bull versus Alani Nu energy drinks.
Hi, I'm Soraya. I'm interviewing
Ainsley.
and we're going to be talking about what energy drinks we prefer between Red Bull and Alani Nu. So which energy drink do you drink the most?
I would definitely say I drink Red Bull more.
Do you think Red Bull's marketing is the reason why you drink it more than Alani Nu?
I think a little bit. I do like the Red Bull gives you wings thing, and I feel like throughout the years, me drinking Red Bull has kind of become my brand. So, yes, I feel like a little bit, yeah.
How often do you consume energy drinks?
So I've been trying to cut back on it a bit recently, but I will say I used to drink a Red Bull like every day. It was kind of bad.
Why do you choose energy drinks over like basic caffeine drinks like coffee?
I feel like energy drinks, specifically Red Bull, kind of just gives me the little bit like more of a kick that I need, especially if I'm like commuting. I feel like in the mornings I need extra caffeine, and sometimes like iced coffee does not do it for me. So yeah, that's why sometimes I gravitate towards Red Bull more.
Okay, so based on these photos, which one would you gravitate towards?
I would gravitate towards the Alani just because it has brighter colors and the flavor looks a lot more appealing.
So based off these photos, would you say that each one is targeted towards like a certain gender?
Definitely, I would say just like alone. I mean, traditional like pink is a girl, blue is a boy. From that, if I was just to look at these pictures, I could tell from that. But also, Alani Nu, I've like known that they sponsor a lot of influencers. Like even back in like 2016, I used to watch Remy Ashton a lot. And Alani Nu was a huge sponsor of them. Same with like Laura DIY. And you never really saw Red Bull kind of go into that target. Whereas Red Bull, I find, goes for like gamers and usually more male-dominated communities. So yeah.
Thank you.
What message do you think Red Bull's trying to send versus Alani Nu through their marketing?
Well, I think that Red Bull's definitely more masculine. It's more like sporty, whereas the Alani Nu is very kind of feminine. It's got a lot of like girly colors. I feel like it's more like a party drink, whereas Red Bull feels more like an energy drink.
Okay, does the marketing or influencers influence which drink you purchase between Red Bull and Alani Nu?
Of course it does. Like when you look at Red Bull, let's diagnose this, okay? Red Bull originated, I believe, in Thailand, okay? And the way they market it is they apply to like, you know how F1 has like Red Bull teams and stuff like that? You know, for like people that enjoy sports, you see like, oh, Red Bull signed to this, signed to that, so like let's drink Red Bull. You know what I mean? So.
As a Red Bull drinker, have you ever purchased Alani Nu?
Unfortunately, I haven't, but like the stories I've heard about Alani Nu, like apparently it tastes amazing.
So why haven't you tried it?
I'm just gonna stick with Red Bull. I'm a Red Bull guy.
Is it because of how the bottle looks like?
Could be. You never know.
Thank you.